This is the final live lesson on the course. So if you've been here through the whole one, through all these, thanks for sticking around. Before I get into this, let me just talk about who I am, what I do, what these classes are, that kind of thing. So I teach drawing fundamentals at animation school, and I've been teaching online as well. And these classes are a chance for me to do lectures in the way that I would do, or at least as close as I could do in a real life classroom setting online. Um, Now, I've made YouTube videos before, and I will again, but they're not really ideal for teaching, in my opinion. Like if you did take a class and all the teacher did was play YouTube videos, you probably wouldn't be too impressed with the teacher, even if they were good YouTube videos. Real life instruction, it's not just me giving information to you, it's a back and forth. So I can find out where you're at and I can give you the information you need in a way that's more relevant to your life and how you understand it. So that's what these classes are all about, to take my time and not have to hold people's attention like you do with a YouTube video where people click off if they're not entertained in 3 seconds, and have a back and forth to really, really get fully into this stuff. Um, so, one thing I want to clarify is that in real life classrooms, I have social cues where I can see people and I can get a sense of whether or when it's time for me to stop talking and to let other people talk. But I don't really get those online. So if you have something to say or a question, you can type it in the chat and I'll read it, or you can just speak on the mic if you're in the Discord server. Uh, don't worry about interrupting me. Don't worry about being rude. It's fine. I'm going to do plenty of talking. Um, that's the best way I can do to get this back and forth. So let's talk about the end of this course because this is the last lesson, and I put this lesson on. Not it, there is new material here, but it's more about where to go from here after you've learned what's in the course and how to keep learning what's in the course. Because the course is 10 weeks, because that's I think that's a good like that's about what a semester is in my real life classes, a little bit shorter. And it's a good amount of information, like each of these lessons. But these aren't, this isn't the kind of thing where you learn it once and then you just know it. It's not like math class where, you do your addition, you do your multiplication, then you're good and you move on. Drawing is more like a skill where you keep working at it and you keep getting better and better and better. Um, so this lesson is as much about adding new skills as how to really keep working at these skills even after the course is done. So in the last course, we talked about processes, and that was breaking down drawing into like these 3 steps, for a couple different processes. And those steps referenced exercises we did in previous lessons. So it kind of puts everything together. Um, what I want you to do going forward, if you want to keep learning this stuff, is keep trying the processes from last session. And if you don't feel like your work is there yet, then you can go back and do exercises again from previous lessons. So that's the idea behind why I split up the process into um, into skills from previous lessons in as separate steps, is because if you feel like you're lacking in one of those steps, you know exactly what you need to do to bring up those skills. You know exactly which skill you need to work on. So you can go back to that lesson and do those exercises again. And that's how you keep working, how you get this stuff to be really, really solid. Um, the other thing going forward, and this is the new material, so that's how to keep going to learn the material of the course. The new material of the course, or the new material of this lesson, is about moving beyond the processes. Like I said in the lecture last week, that the processes are like training wheels. They're not designed to be like the correct way to draw. They're designed to bring all of the skills that we learned in previous lessons and combine them into a functional process that will get you there and get you experience doing it right. But I don't work in that process. Experienced artists don't do like step one, step two, step three. They just draw. And they don't, if you do the same process every time, you're going to get the same results every time. And to some degree, that's really good to build consistency when you're learning. But eventually, it gets kind of boring. Part of the fun of art is surprising yourself with what happens. And if you, like, we don't, at least me personally, I don't want to be a machine. I don't want to do art like I'm solving a math problem where I have to get to the same answer every time. A lot of the fun is the experimentation and seeing what I can create. And that's what this lesson is about. So the process, it's about experimenting with style, because the process gives you one style, but you want to be able to move on and try other things. So in this course, I've given you a variety of ways to describe form and a variety of ways to think about light and to describe value. Even more if you read the book. I didn't cover everything in there. Um, and we can take these principles and we can modify them and we can uh, combine them in different ways, doing different things with lines, doing different things with value, doing different things with color if we want to go there, different ways of blending, all of that stuff. And when we create a style, we're just taking, or at least the aspect of this that we're going to, a style that we're going to focus on today, is just taking those artistic choices, how you use line, how you use value, whether you focus on the form of your subject or the light or which you prioritize, etc., and making those decisions consistently. That's how you get to be to a style. Um, so the exercise for this lesson is to, um, like I talked about before, to um, solidify your process and make sure you're getting that. But it's also to expand on the process. And I want to take an iterative approach because you don't know if you're going to like the style until you do the style, maybe until you do it a few times. So you start from a style that does work, at least for this iterative approach. You can start from a style that does work, and then you take it in a different direction and you see whether you like it or not. And if you do, you can iterate more from that. If you don't, well, then you go in a different direction. Or maybe you iterate more because you see something working, but other things aren't working. Um, so before I get into demoing this, I just talked a lot. Does this make sense? Does anybody have any questions?
No, makes sense. Makes sense.
Make sense? Cool. Okay. Well, like I said in the description, that this is going to be a mostly demo lecture. So let's do that. So this is a rendering I did for the course of my subject using the process. Um, this time I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So in this rendering, I blended everything like really smoothly, um, which is good for realism. But this time I want to try um, similar approach, but I'm going to blend less, and I'm going to blend less smoothly. I'm going to use, excuse me, I'm going to experiment with brushes and see how that looks. So I would still for all of these processes, I'm still going to start with the proportions the way I established them in the first step of either of these processes where I did the gesture and then I checked my proportions and corrected them. Let's get a background. And I'm actually going to start the process the same way, where I will divide into light and shadow. And I'm going to be a bit fast and loose today because I want to experiment with a few styles. And if I go at my normal pace, then we're going to get maybe one or two. And I know I say this every time, but it's important, which is why I say it every time, is that I'm working from a photograph so you can see what I'm working on, but the course is intended to be done from life. And there is an important reason why that is, and that is that when you work from a photo, you can copy the values, the lines, and the shapes directly from the photo. But when you work from life, you can't because real life is three-dimensional. So you have to translate the three-dimensional experience into lines, shapes, etc. Okay, light and shadow, and I'm going to do this a quicker way. So instead of doing the darker value of the light and the darker value of the shadow and then blending them, I'm going to blend as I go. And let's see what I got for brushes. I'm not much of a brush person. I usually just use the standard ones. But do I have anything that's like a good texture to it? Chalk, yeah. Okay, this one's pretty chunky. Let's do this. And I don't know exactly how this is going to work out because I've never actually used this brush before. But that's okay. And instead of trying to blend everything really smoothly, I'll just let there be some kind of chunkiness here to my value transitions. I'll break them up a little bit. I don't want it to be like striped. I don't like that look. Even punch this one up a little bit in here. A lot of reflected light. So when I don't blend like this, or when I blend a lot less like this, I have to be aware of the shapes that I'm using because they're a lot more noticeable. They become kind of a design element in themselves. But I'll still use less blending in some places and more in others to describe the light and the roundness. Because you don't have to use the same brush everywhere. In fact, why don't I just do that now? Just blend in some places a little bit. Some places are chunky, some places are smooth. This should be chunkier. And I'm kind of thinking like the bigger the change in value, the chunkier I want to make it. So like where light transitions into shadow, that's where I want to make it nice and chunky and really you can really see the texture. But then when the transition is more subtle, like within the light, within the shadow, that's where I want to have it blend more. I could do the opposite as well. It's just, like I said, I'm just experimenting to figure out what I like. Good to zoom out sometime too. get more of this middle gray in there. Okay, I'll stop there. And if I'm being honest, I don't love the texture, but you know, it's an experimentation. I kind of like the chunkiness in some parts. I like the um, the way it's kind of broken up into shapes. But
Looks like a concrete statue or something.
sorry, say that again. Turn up my
Yeah,
volume.
it looks like a concrete statue or something like.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a little bit of a like a porous kind of rock texture. Yeah, I agree. Um, and I think using that one texture for everything is probably a lot of the reason why I don't like it. But again, it's an experimentation and I'm trying to do these kind of quickly. So I'm going to take what I learned from that and I'm going to try again. And this time, I'm going to, instead of just using one texture, like I liked that blocky idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to block everything out with just a hard brush first, and then maybe use texture to break up some parts of it. See how that looks.
So far, all the exercises have been about learning to translate real life or picture, right, to drawing.
Sorry, say that
But
again?
now that so far, is my mic not working correctly?
No, it's on my end. I just didn't have the volume up high enough.
Mm. That like so far the exercises have been all learning to accurately represent 3D objects or real life objects into paper, right?
Right.
And now it's like taking the first steps into bringing imagination into it to get your own style, right? Like trying to not directly represent what you see.
Um, I wouldn't say that because like whenever you're drawing, you are changing what you see in the way you describe it. Um, it's just with these styles, I'm changing it a bit more.
Mhm.
Um, like when I think of imagination, I think of that there is no or that I'm changing the subject. Like I'm um,
Yeah.
like if I were to compare this to writing, um, the imagination would be fictional. This would be just different ways to describe real events. So this is more like the style of prose or poetry you use versus the difference between fiction and nonfiction. because I'm still representing the same forms in the same light. Good question, though. I'm using the wrong brush.
Yeah, because I was thinking about what you just said, like, oh, you like it chunky, right? So yeah, we have the shape and width of the form, but you're going to try to like work beyond what the lighting is it's showing on the real subject itself.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's true the lighting isn't chunky, but um, it's still like I'm still working from the same lighting, even if I'm. Yeah, I guess you're right. I am changing it a little bit. But I think it's just a matter of changing it more or less than because you're always changing it. It's whenever you're making a drawing, it's not, the map isn't the territory, etc. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely is more of a imagination to it when you are pushing the style more. Okay, so now I want to think in terms of shape design and value. Try to find a way to describe these with interesting shapes. Okay. I could probably pretty up these shapes a bit more, but this is just an example of what I can do and taking a more designy approach. Um, and I don't know, I kind of like it. There's some stuff here. There's, but I think it's a little too flat. So let's find a chunky brush and break it up a bit. Let's see if this not quite chunky enough. Yeah, that could work. Maybe something a little harder. No. Like a dry brush kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm not going to blend as much. I'm just going to break these shapes up. And it'll blend them a little bit, but I still want to mostly keep these shapes intact because that was the point of this. But especially where it's rounded, I want to break them up a bit more. Yeah, I think it helps. I think it makes it a bit more interesting and a little less just abstract. I'll try to create some contrast by blending more in some areas and less in others. So yeah, that was kind of fun. I think it's better than the last one. And, if this wasn't a demo where I'm trying to get these done, I could keep refining it. I think there might be something there that's worth doing. But that's an example of how you can iterate with style. So I tried doing everything with one texture, didn't love it. So I um, did shapes first and then used texture to break them up a bit. And actually, you know what? Since I was saying using multiple textures, let's go in and what does this do? I'm gonna find something really chunky. This. What if I make it really big? Just to add a. Oh, that's weird. Okay, never mind. Well, I'll soften some of these instead of making them chunkier. No, that's not working either. I know I have something even chunkier in here. Yeah, that's pretty chunky. And I'll put some like big chunks in there too. Give it a little bit more variety. But only in a few spots. So yeah, a few noticeable brushstrokes to, oops, to push it even more. Yeah, I like that. At least I like it a bit better. Oh, someone's been typing in the chat this whole time. Um, okay, so that's an example of iteration, and I want to do something different now. So where is it? Yeah, this is the one I did last week, where I just wrapped lines around the form. So I'm going to do one with lines this time, but I'm going to be a bit more chaotic about how I apply the lines. And you'll see my plan in the sphere. I'll actually just do the sphere first, and then I'll do it for the rest. Too thick. So what I'm going to do is instead of wrapping exactly around, I'm going to like kind of follow the direction, but I'm going to go in a bunch of different directions. And the more I move the lines together, the darker it will be. So for the reflected light, I'll have them a bit further apart. So I'm still applying value with line. I'm just doing it in a bit of a different way. And it's going to look weird for a while, but I think this will come together. And for this core shadow, I'm going to make it nice and dark. Have the lines closer together. And then out here they get a bit further apart. See how that looks. So up close it looks weird, but when you zoom out, you can kind of see the value still wrapping around. Let's go in and add a little bit more darkness down below. I'm also trying to do more with my outside lines. Have them do the ambient occlusion.
Hatching like this like looks like magic to me. I'm seeing it happen right in front of me, and I don't understand it. Like how?
It's because I'm thinking of value.
Yeah, yeah, but like
It's also not the first time I've done this, so that helps. That I kind of know how this is going to work. But there was a first time I did it, and that was the experimentation part. Okay, so I do have to wrap up. Um, got a few minutes left, and I'm gonna keep drawing as I wrap because this is fun, and I kind of like how this one's turning out. Um, Before I do, um, I want to talk about what to do in the course if you're on week 10. And this is where you start thinking about graduating. And you graduate from the course not by doing all 10 weeks, but by having a drawing of your object that you are happy with. And I'm not going to go and review and tell people whether they passed or not. That's not really what I'm into. I am going to leave it up to you to decide. This is where you look back at your first drawing of your object and what you're doing now. And when you decide it's a win, then it's a win. Um, Sorry, I haven't been reading the chat. I hope in the book cover cross hatching. Absolutely, yeah. Cross hatching is there. Hi, Ben. Um, so yeah, there's a wins category in the server, and that's where you post like a before and after, what you were drawing at the start of the course and what you're drawing now, if you feel like it's a win and you've done the 10 weeks. If you don't feel like you've made the improvement that you want from the course, then like I said at the beginning, this is where you keep doing the process and then you go back and you do the exercises again that you feel are holding you back. And before I do my whole spiel to wrap, I want to throw this one out to you guys if you have any other thoughts or questions before we wrap. Okay, well, thanks for coming out. Do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's -8 UTC. I stream live on YouTube and on the Discord channel. If you're not a member if you're watching on YouTube and you're not a member of the Discord channel, the link is in the description. We'd love to have you. We got a great crew of people of all skill levels who are dedicated to building their craft, and it's nice to have a community to grow with. I have a textbook available for free. That link for that is in the description as well. That covers drawing from observation, perspective, anatomy, light, all the stuff you need to draw from imagination and how they're all connected. And the link to the course, the videos are on YouTube, but there's also text versions of everything. That link is in the description as well. And if you really want to supercharge your drawing learning, I'm available for one-on-one mentorship. And you can check that link out in the description. The first lesson is free. So you can find out if we're a fit before you have to worry about paying any money. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. This one's been fun, and I should probably take some time to finish this drawing at some point, but I don't have the time. How should I judge a shadow? I mean, cross hatching, pet. I mean, where? Um, so it's just value. Cross hatching is just value. You like you put the darker values where it's darker relative to the rest of them. Um, that's a longer conversation than I have for right before I wrap. But you can check out the lessons 7 and 8 cover value, and that'll explain how to know where to put your darks and your lighter values, etc. And those ones you're doing it with like flat value, but it's the same idea when you're doing it with hatching. You're just doing it with lines instead. All right. Thanks again for everybody for coming out, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everybody.
See you.